This is another new Black World Order TV Productions. Chopper. Shots fired. This is part 3 of the origins of the tribe of Shahbaz. And since we have came to the conclusion through part 2 that we're talking about a tough people, a people who couldn't have possibly been able to live in a hot zone such as Africa to set up a colony called East Asia, because that's what it would have been, a colony called East Asia, right? So let's go back a little further. Let's go back to this deportation of the moon history, okay? In between the Shahbaz story of 50,000 years ago and the Shahbaz history of the deportation of the moon. So you took a Persian word back 50,000 years. Now you're trying to interpolate it into a 66 or 76 trillion year history. You have literally taken, right, the words of a people that according to you were only grafted 6,000 years ago. You have taken it 50,000 years further. Well, let's say 46, right? Let's say you have taken it at least 44,000 years further than 6,000 years ago. And now you're trying to take it back 66 to 76 trillion years ago. And I want to talk about the conditions that were hotter on the earth than it was during the time when you were trying to set up your colony, your East Asia colony in Africa, right? So when we look further back at the temperatures, let's go into an in-depth research about the temperatures on our planet, right? When there were high emissions of carbon in the planet, right, that rose the temperatures of the oceans, created very, very hot temperatures worldwide, right? But you're telling me they just learned 50,000 years ago how to cope with hot temperatures. We got a problem here. We got a problem here, Wesley. We got a problem here, Mr. Guthrie, as it relates to Farad's teaching on Shahbaz. You cannot take a Persian word and place it back 50,000 years ago, not let alone 76 to 66 trillion years ago. And how did you get past the high emissions of carbon that raised the temperatures on the planet, right? So Shahbaz was living during the high emissions of carbon on the planet that raised the temperature of the planet about degrees Celsius, right? And you're telling me that Shahbaz lived through that, but then 50,000 years ago, he had to be genetically mixed with a people in order to live in temperatures that were less cooler than they were during the time of the high carbon emissions. So this is the question for Wesley Muhammad about the origins of Shahbaz. This is part 3, and it gets a little more tougher as I go.